can unravel my mind and change my mind like this, what other things can I change in the world or in the self that I might not be aware of? What other things can I alter? And it sort of unravels the entire world around you. It unravels all the way that you see the world is constructed by yourself and by other people. And the next step in this is returning to the source or reaching the source. So things start to come back. We had nothing. Now we have some plants and a little water, stuff like that. Now I think this is like something that I think this is where debate and these spiritual metaphor really do match up quite nicely. Because in debate, after you've done it for a while, and after you study it for a while, and you say, well, the championships are nice, but what else did I get? I got a bunch of friends, I got a lot of nice experiences. What else can I get? You get a real sense of how powerful you can be in the world by recognizing things that are normative and things that are not so normatively constructed, or how everyone jointly creates meaning out of things together. And you can critique that, you can participate in that, and you can do it in a way with very, very nicely refined skills, I think, that you get from debate. And that's some of the stuff that Professor Snyder was talking about last night. They don't go just to the level of job creation or citizenship or things like that, but the entire attitude towards the entire world can change. You recognize that meaning is something that we make together as human beings. Like, how do you know what I mean? Like, what am I presenting to you other than some imperceivable, well, you can perceive them in your ears. But as soon as I say what I've wanted to say and you understand it, it's gone. Like, language is effervescent. Like, even what I'm saying right now, when are you receiving it? Are you getting it right now at the moment I say it? Or if I take a long pause, do you get it right when I say it now? I mean, you know what we're talking about, but it's just kind of a weird delay thing. And I think that this makes you aware of those delays in sort of meaning making that we as humans have to rely on. Actually, we depend on them quite a bit. Okay, so now you've remade the world, and you can see the world very differently. What do? You return to the world, and this is called either into the world or in the marketplace. And this is where this guy is actually the person who we saw several frames ago, but he's depicted here as a very wise person. And wise people are presented in this sort of visual rhetorical format. He's got a big bag. He wanders the earth. He has his lantern. He's dressed in monk robes, and he's shaved his head. And this is sort of and here he is telling another person about the ox. So this is a very different kind of idea of what you're supposed to do after you have completed debate and you go off into the world. You can tell other people about, hey, there's this ox out there that is you really need to capture. It's really impossible to catch. And so you can send other people on that journey as well, if you want to. But one of the things that's interesting is another translation that says, you return to the marketplace, your arms open. It's not a return to the world or the marketplace with your fists clenched, which is sort of the debatophobe mentality that a lot of people have about debate, is that we're training some kind of people who want to fight. Like, I know when I go to my administration and we try to do public debates with things, they are always sort of like, well, we need to make sure that it's very calm and there's no, like, yelling. They have a very bad model of debate. A lot of people do. But in this one, it's you return arms open. You don't return to challenge people. You return to help other people figure out this nice experience that you've had or that you're having in debate. So, where do you think you might be in this series of pictures in your debate experience? At what point are you? I think I am probably here, and then sometimes here. I would like to be here, but that's just my own personal sort of journey in thinking about this. So, metaphors like this, I think, are very useful because they give us alternative ways of conceiving what debate can bring to us. This is sort of a quest for the self. Who are you? Who are you when you're debating? And how do you know? And this kind of answers those questions by saying there are some key moments in your journey that you have to think and you have to overcome these challenges before you move on to the next level. So at what phase are you in this debate as a quest for the self? Final thought I'll leave you with is a Japanese quote from Japanese Buddhism. Water drunk by the cow creates milk. Water drunk by the snake becomes venom. How does this happen? They both drink the same water. So you can think about that as you pursue your debating career or your debating enjoyment. This is a quotation from Zen Buddhism, which is probably the one that you're most familiar with, as Japanese Zen Buddhism. And I think it's a nice, we all have the same thing. Maybe if you replace language here, water with language, we would all have the same kind of, what is it, if you're drinking down debate, or you're drinking down language, what is it that you're going to make it into? What is it that you're going to provide as you go on your debate journey? And that's all I have for tonight, but I'm happy to take any questions, or we can have a little discussion or anything like that with the time that's left.
In relation to judging debate, where do you think the best, I'm picturing as a judge, possibly in the realm of the 10 slides, where do you think the best judge is looking from? Do you think they almost have to be past that stage, at the final 10th, or do you think a superior judge can be at the 4th stage?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. First, judging is that's its own presentation in itself. Because I've been thinking a lot about adjudication and what judges should do and how they should serve. And I think that they could be at any one of these stages in their own debate awareness. But the thing about judges is we have this thing, the reasonable person standard. I don't know if you guys have heard that before, as far as a way of judging, the reasonable person standard. And that might be something that is more of a crutch to some people than other people. But so you have some judges who are will vote for you. They say, well, that was just very persuasive. I just was moved by that. That's awesome. That's pretty rare. Then you have other judges who, well, you broke the rules, so you lose. And hopefully that's rare too. We don't want either of those kind of results. We want something sort of in the middle. It's given what you had in this debate, and given the opportunity you had, did you say something that moved your position more towards your line or not? I guess it's a kind of fancy way of saying I don't know. But I do think that we don't want to use these images to dismiss people based on a hierarchy, because it's sort of the journey, right? It's not oh, you're at step 5, so you can't judge these teams or those teams or something like that. It's more of the journey is ongoing. So, and also we want to be careful about how much of the audience we dismiss. It's very, very easy, I think, when you're speaking, to be so caught up in your point of view that if a judge votes against you, you can be well, it just wasn't meant for them. They were kind of dumb. But people do this all the time when they speak. How much of the audience in a college classroom can I dismiss and still be persuasive or still meet my ethical obligation to you? If someone's sleeping, well, I don't know how much I need to wake them up or not, but there's always going to be some amount of the audience that has to be dismissed. And in any kind of rhetorical situation, it's this way. There's some sliver of it, but it can't be such a big group that it makes your effort to persuade them useless. So it can't always be the judge's problem. In fact, in my view, it's never the judge's problem. It's always your problem with trying to communicate to the judge. So I guess the short version of that is I don't really know, but I would think that I wouldn't dismiss a judge based on where they are as far as this goes. We would all think that judges are probably this guy, hey, keep mystifying debate and all this, but a lot of times they're, they might be like this or they might be like this. A lot of judges might be like this. They're well, I was an awesome debater when I was a debater, and this is what I would have done. If I was in your place, I would have made these arguments. But then they're judging the debate that they would want to have and not the one they saw, which is a big problem. So, I hope that answered your question. AJ?
How are the woodcuts displayed when they're displayed in South Korea or China?
The one I'm thinking about in South Korea is it's painted on the wall of the monastery. And it's painted in a linear fashion, step by step by step. And then oftentimes these are put in books, and if you go and get a book on the ox herding woodcuts, one of the things is everyone who's come along since the 12th century has written another poem or a comment or written some kind of verse about it. So you can read all these different interpretations of it as it's come through the centuries. It's a pedagogical tool designed for monks to show them with a giant metaphor of this ox, where they might be and what kind of things they need to think about to break through to the next level. Right? You haven't finished if you're here. And a lot of people might think they're finished. I'm enlightened. I'm an enlightened monk now. I'm going to go around and look down on everyone. Well, that's not being enlightened, ain't that? Or it's that's not being the kind of debater that you want to spread this thing around. Not the kind of debater that people fear. They say, oh, we shouldn't teach debate because, like the State Department, we shouldn't teach debate because people might get unruly and not back down and da-da-da. So we want to find alternative explanations for that. But they're displayed linearly usually, or in a book form where you have the image on one page and then all the commentary and poems on the left that all the different Zen masters have left over the centuries. So there's a lot to read on it. It's pretty cool. I've been looking at this stuff for a long time now. So, yep.
How do you know?